All right, so shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to start off by saying Barakathon, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah. And I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Makatadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And shout out to the hopefully elect, starting with the 144,000. Shalom. All right, so Lord willing, excuse the background noise if there's any cars, doing like a quote unquote, walking talk, but I'm still doing the screen recorder lesson, right? So if I'm out here in New York, it can get noisy or whatnot. But Lord willing, right, we'll get into it, right? And the title of the lesson is Spiritual Eunuch, right? Let me make sure I'm saying that right. Let's go here, let's go to the pronunciation of it. There it is already.
Eunuch.
I can't, hello.
Eunuch.
I don't know if y'all can hear it. Let me see if I can get my other phone. It ain't playing the sound. I don't know why when I screen record I can hear the sound. Let's see. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it right, because I'm going to speak on this word a lot through the lesson. Let's see, here it is. Eunuch. There you go. Eunuch. Right, so spiritual eunuch, right? So I had typed it in. Right, this lesson come through the inspiration through the spirit of power. How about Shah? I was watching the breakdown of Revelation chapter 2, and the brothers who broke it down perfectly. As you watching the lesson, many lessons come from that through the spirit, right? But let's go back here, right? So I had typed in a spiritual eunuch, right? Spiritual eunuch, right? Make sure I'm saying it right one more time, right? Eunuch. I said eunuch, right? So a spiritual eunuch is a person who focuses only on the faith and put everything else aside, right? So it says, this is AR overview, it says a spiritual eunuch, right, is a figurative term rooted in Christianity, but we ain't really worrying about all that, right? It says it often refers to someone who makes a voluntary choice to remain celibate, putting aside romantic and worldly pursuits to dedicate their life, time, and focus entirely to the service of Yahweh and their faith, right? And this is what we are. We're spiritual eunuchs, right? We're spiritual eunuchs, right? So it had said the concept stems from Matthew 19 and 12, right? And I told him, I said, right, so if we're going to go to it, right, matter of fact, we'll just go to it, right? Matthew 19 and 12, we started at 11, right? It says, we'll start at 10, actually. He said, his disciples said unto him, if this case of men, right, he says, if the case of men be so with his wife, is it not good to marry? He said, but he said unto them, all man cannot receive this saying, say they to whom it is given, right? Because most high, Yahweh Shah spoke in parables, right? A lot of dark sins, a lot of spiritual things, right? If you spiritually discern, you won't be able to understand it. We're spiritual eunuchs, right? So it says, right, we'll turn this way, look a little more quieter this way, right? It says, for there are some eunuchs, right? There are some eunuchs who are born from their mother's womb, right? Meaning they born, in a sense, can't have a kids, right? Can't have kids. And there are some eunuchs which are eunuchs of men, right? Meaning they go get castrated or whatnot. And when the men go get castrated, he getting castrated, to basically focus his whole mindset into whatever he focuses in, right? That's why we spiritual eunuchs, because let's continue reading. He said, which have made themselves, right? He said, Slaki, and there be eunuchs, right, which have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it, right? Because these men are spiritual eunuchs, right? Who put aside everything else, but it's true. Who put aside the way of the world, right? Who put aside the way of the life, who put aside the way of everything in this world to focus only on his truth, right? They put their mind 110% within his truth, within his ministry, right? And that's what we are. We're spiritual eunuchs, right? So let's go to Isaiah. Go to the book of Isaiah. I'm actually going to sit down right here. Try to stay out of traffic's way. I got my head down this morning. Let's go sit down right here. Right, the book of Isaiah, right? Chapter 56, right? And this is starting at verse 4, right? And it reads, it says, but this saith the Lord Yahweh unto the eunuchs, right, that keep my Sabbath and choose the things that please me, take hold of my covenant, even unto them will I give in my household and within my walls a place and a name better than of sons and of daughters, right? It says, and I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Right? That's what it is, right? You know, those spiritual units, what? Who give up everything and follow you, how shot. Right? Let's go to, let me see, real quick. This is right here to Matthew. Well, they all saying the kind of same thing. We'll go to one in Matthew 16, right? Let's go to Matthew 16, right? Right, and we'll start at verse 24, right? Right? It says, then said Yahushua unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. That's what these spiritual eunuchs are, right? You know, we're those spiritual eunuchs where we give up everything. We give up the whole way of the world. We give up the whole way of everything around us, right? And focus only on this ministry and this truth, right? Because what it says, focus on righteousness in the kingdom and everything else to be added into thee, right? So we don't got time to be putting out cares or we don't have time to make any affairs with anything in this world, because we know the ways of this world is evil. Everything in this world is full of evil because the wicked rules the world. The evil rules this world, right? What is that? 1 John, right? Everything around us is evil, right? Because the wicked are in rule, right? It's verse 25. Here's the point. He said, for whosoever will save his life. Well, 24 was the point. What I continue reading now, it says, whosoever will save his life shall lose, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. But I'm gonna read 24 in the NLT, because this really was the point. It says, then Yahushua said to his disciples, if any of you want to be my follower, you must give up your own way and take up your cross and follow me. And this is what we do, right? Because we have one mind. We one-minded in Yahushua, you know, right? Let's see, what is that? Right? It's Matthew 6, right? I don't know what this thing keep doing there. Matthew 6 and 22, right? It says, the light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light, right? It says your eye is a lamp that provides light for your body. When your eye is healthy, your whole body is filled with light, right? Because what is that light? It's not understanding this truth. And when you focus wholly, when you one-minded, when you focus wholly and fully on this truth, you one-minded in this truth, right? Everything else around you is cut off, is put to the side. You know, you're not worried about it. You're not taking affairs in it. You don't really care what's going on around you, right? Because why? You in that spiritual unit, right? When I was watching the lesson, the brothers they spoke about George Carver, if I'm not mistaken, how he was. Let's search it up. How he was a eunuch, right? Let's type in, wasn't George Carver a Well, it said, yeah. It said the idea that he was a eunuch stems from a combination of physical trait, modern internet rumors, and figurative interpretation of his lifestyle. Let's continue reading. It says, a rumor frequently circulating online and claiming that Carver was castrated at the age of 10 or 11 by his former master or family that bought him. People to the point, two main things support this, right? So what I really want to get to, is how he created. Let me see. Dang, I came out. This sun shining right on me. Right? So it says, yes, George Washington created hundreds of different things, though his true genius was in right? It says his agriculture, right? Science rather than communication, manufacturing, right? His core mission was to save the but the whole point is what I'm searching him up for, right? Because they're gonna say he not, but in a sense he was a eunuch, right? And his whole mind was set on to his mission, what he was doing, right? When you were a eunuch, right? You know, when I mentioned earlier, when men get castrated, they get castrated so they can focus their whole mind to whatever they're focusing, right? And we're those spiritual eunuchs, right? With our eye being single, focused wholly and fully on Yahushua, right? Because Yahushua told us, right? Take up your cross, right? You can't. Let's continue reading Matthew 6, right? Because you can't be focused on anything else. You can't be focused on money. You can't be focused on the way of life. You can't be focused on, female things that such, right? Because that's going to distract you from the truth. That's going to pull you away, right? Let's see. Let's start at verse 23. It said, but thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness, right? No man can serve two masters, right? For he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve Yahweh and Mammon, right? That's why we spiritual eunuchs, man. Right? We not focused on nothing else. We ain't serving nothing else, right? Our whole mindset, our whole purpose is what? We one-minded in the spirit of power, Yahweh Shah. Right? We focus solely and fully on this truth, man. Right? Nothing else crosses our mind but the will and power of Yahweh Shah. Right? That's all we focusing on. Right? And you have the go to work and things as such, what is that, Acts, or it might be Corinthians, 1 Corinthians chapter 7:31, right? Those of you in the world that's not abusing it, right? Because we don't abuse it, right? Because really, our mindset is focused on this truth, how we can perfect ourselves, chasing out the perfection of Yahweh Shah each and every day. That's what we trying to do. We trying to be perfect in His sight, even though we can't, but we chasing after it. Right, we're gonna receive that perfection in the kingdom, right? When we change those spiritual bodies. But right now, we on that path. Each and every day, our mindset is focused to do what's right under Yahweh Shah. That's why we are spiritual units, because everything around us is basically cut off in a sense, right? We're dead to the world, right? I think who said I'm just typing this in just because. Yep, right here, Romans 6. Right? Romans 6, actually, this is a perfect one. Colossians 2, right? In verse 20, it said, wherefore, if ye be dead with Yahweh Shah from the rootments of the world, why as though living in the world, ye are subject to ordinance, right? It says, you have died with Yahweh Shah. He has set you free from the spiritual powers of this world, right? Right? And it says, so why do you keep on following the rules of the world? So, right? And that's what's going on, right? A lot of these, Jake ain't spiritual unit. That's why the scripture say double-minded man unstable in all his ways, because a lot of these men are double-minded, man. Right? They switch up on the doctrine, or they reading about Islam, reading about this and that. They double-minded. They not one-minded in the spirit of power. How about Shah? There's so many things in this world that's distracting them and pulling them. That's what in Matthew 13, when Yahweh was giving the parable of the seeds, what he say, got those one when the affairs of this world entangle him up and choke him, right? So the seed never grow, and that seed is a parable for the word when you go to the book of Luke, right? Right? So we're spiritual unity, because the only thing on our mind is what? This truth, right? How we can better ourselves in the spirit and power of His sight, and that's our main purpose, man. Right? So let's go from there. There's another that I wanted. Actually, gets in Matthew chapter, right? We were speaking about the eunuchs, right? So we will stay in Matthew 19, right? And let's go down, right? Yeah, verse 27, right? I'm gonna read this in the NLT, right? Because I ain't really always do it in the NLT, right? It says, right? So this is what it says. It says, then Peter said to him, we've given up everything to follow you. What will we get? Right? Yahweh shall reply, I assure you that when the world is made new, right, and the Son of Man sits upon His glorious throne, right, in the kingdom, you have been my followers, right? You who have been my followers will also sit on the 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel, right? And this our main goal. So we read in Isaiah 56, verse 4 and 5. We're gonna get that new name, right? We're gonna get that glory. We're gonna overcome the trial, or we're gonna overcome the we're gonna be glorious in the kingdom. We're gonna be great in the kingdom of heaven. We're gonna be rulers, man, right? And if people gonna know that. Right, they gonna know. We're gonna build that governing body. Be how about Shah sitting on the thrones of David, man. Right, and it's gonna know that. It's gonna pay off in the end, because why? Right, we cut off. Right, we castrated everything of this world to focus on this truth. To push the ministry, push the word, feed the sheep, do the will what Yahweh Shah said for us to do. Right, and that's what eunuchs do. Right, that's what I'm referring to us as spiritual eunuchs. But that's what eunuchs do, man. Eunuchs focus only on whatever they master or whatever they trying to master themselves in. Right, so they go celibate or whatnot, whatever they do, right? But I'm seeing spiritual unit. We celibate to the ways of this world. That's why, matter of fact, it hit me. That's why Yahweh Shah said what? Right, let's go to Revelation 14 and 4, right? It says, I started verse 3. It says, and they sung as it were a new song before the throne and before the four beasts, right, and the elders, and no man could learn the song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth, right? And the new song was what? Didn't all understand this truth, man, right? Having the spirit, how about y'all try to understand it, right? It says, verse 4 is the point. It says, these are they which were not defiled with the woman. Well, what's that woman? Babylon, right? America. Because of Babylon, America got these people caught up, man. right? Jake not in a spiritual unit mindset, or he not one-minded Yahweh Shem Shah, because the affairs of this world has choked him up, right? He got him lost, right? It says these are they which these are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins, right? We celibate to the world. We celibate to all these doctors. We virgins. Cause our mind says what, right? We focus on this spiritual marriage with Yahweh Shem Shah. And where marriage means join together, because Lord willing, we're going to be joined together with him in the kingdom. Revelation 19, right? That bride makes herself ready. What is that? The bride, the elect, man, right? That's what we focus on. We spiritual eunuchs, right? You know, we spiritual eunuchs. We cutting off everything else to focus on this truth, right? It says, these are they which were not defiled with the woman, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth, right? These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto Yahweh, unto the Lamb, right? That's another title for the elect, first fruits. But understand it. You know, once again, right? Eunuchs, man. You know, eunuchs. Let's go back to that definition on Google, right? Spiritual eunuch is a figure of the term rooted in Christian theology, right? You know, understand that we the true Christians, right? Suffix IN to be like, we marking our path after Yahweh Shah, right? This Christianity, all that is bullshit, right? Excuse my language, right? It said it often refers to someone who makes a voluntary choice to remain celibate, putting aside romantic and worldly pursuits to dedicate their lifetime and focus entirely to the service of Yahweh in their faith. That's what we doing, right? Teaching the word, teaching the truth, doing lessons, going on how he's by way, right? Scribing each and every day, putting off that old man, becoming a unit, building that discipline, that mindset, to be one-minded, being one-minded in the spirit of power of Yahweh Shem Shah, not focusing on nothing else, right? You know, as you read Colossians 2, right? If we dead to the world, right? Why you keep checking out the rumors of the world? Why you keep following the rules of the world? We dead to this world, right? We spiritual units, man. Everything around us is not about interest. Right, because it is not in the interest of Yahweh Shem Shah. If it ain't in the interest of Yahweh Shem Shah, it ain't in the interest of us, right? Because we're trying to perfect ourselves in the spirit of power of Yahweh Shem Shah. And Lord willing, we in that loading process, or we're going to receive that perfection in the kingdom, man, right? So let's go to the Apocrypha real fast. Let's see. Wisdom of Solomon 3:14. It says, blessed is the eunuch, right? It says, blessed is the eunuch, right, which with his hands hath wrought no iniquity, nor imagine wicked things against Yahweh. For unto him shall be given a special gift of faith, man, and an inheritance in the temple of the Lord, or such as mine. Because in the kingdom, Yahweh Shem Shah gonna be that temple. Ain't gonna be no actual temple in the kingdom. Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Shem Shah gonna be that temple, right? We're gonna receive that inheritance. We're gonna inherit the kingdom. Right, we're gonna be great in the kingdom of heaven, man. Sitting on those 12 thrones. Those are spiritual eunuchs, right? I got some notes right here I read. Yeah, eunuch, single-minded, only focusing on this truth. That's what we hear. That's right. That's who the ones that Yahweh Shem Shah is coming for, right? Those spiritual eunuchs who focus only on this truth, man. Right, as the scriptures tell us, right? We're still right here in the KJV, right? Let's go to Matthew 6, which is in there. Let's go down to verse 33, right? It says, but seek ye first the kingdom of Yahweh and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. And in this chapter, the Most High, basically saying, you know how Jake be worrying, but the Most High, Yahweh Shah telling him how the Most High clothe the lilies, how he feed the birds, how he do all these things. You don't think he got your back, right? So that's why we spiritual units. What we doing? We focus only on the will and power of Yahweh Shem Shah, because everything else gonna be added unto us. And Lord willing, in the kingdom, we're gonna receive everything anyway, right? When we just read, when Peter said we give up everything to follow you, he said, when you give up everything to follow you, guess what? We sitting on the 12 thrones, in the 12 tribes, man, right? So Lord willing, right? That's the precepts I had through the Spirit, right? I want to touch on that, through the Spirit, power by Shem Shah, man. Spiritual eunuchs, man. But we're dead to this world, we're dead to everything around us. We focusing only, we one-minded in the spirit of power by Shem Shah with the 100% truth. So I'm with the elder apostles of GMS, with elder apostle Haron down, So with that being said, Lord willing, right? I hope this lesson was edifying and exalting, right? And I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakadashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and shout out to the hopefully elect. Sunday with the 144,000. Shalom.